Lucas Raver, and this is my informative speech for Speech 198, and it's entitled Perfect Pizza. Alright, so when you think of pizza, how many people think Pizza Hut, or you go to the grocery store and pick out frozen pizza? Anybody think that? Everybody pretty much? How many people think of homemade pizza that you make yourself? Yeah? Alright, well, never mind. I thought nobody would, but alright. I know I don't. I usually think of, fast food, go to the grocery store, pick up something out of the freezer section. So, I'm here to tell you my personal interpretation on how to make a perfect pizza. The way I see it is there's three basic elements, and I've learned those elements through around 5 years of experience working in the pizza business. I've worked for several different places. I've made thousands of pizzas, and, this is what I've learned. So the three basic elements are prep, assembly, and baking. There's no one more important element than the other. They're all equally, important. You couldn't have one without the other. So the first element is prep. And by prep, I mean toppings and dough and cheese and, sausage. I don't know what you want. So I'll start with dough. I think dough is one of the most important parts, and the secret to a good dough is a high gluten flour. And what the gluten does is it forms stronger bonds in the dough. Like this dough is from Stone Creek, one of the pizza places I worked at. And if you try to pull it apart, it really doesn't want to come apart very well, and that means it's got good bonds in it, and it's going to bake better in the oven. And you want that because if you have a flaky dough, it's just not going to turn out that well. So yeah, you want a high gluten flour for your dough, and I found that to be the best. Other elements you need is yeast. I've seen people use eggs. I don't really support that theory, but yeast, and in that dough, I found the best thing to add is garlic, not garlic salt or anything, but real chunks of garlic.
So when you say eggs, you mean mixed in with the
Yeah.
dough you're talking about?
Yep. Alright. Next step would be the sauce, and I found the best sauce is made from chunky tomato sauce rather than paste. Paste never ends well. Paste, you usually add the paste and it doesn't sit well in the fridge for very long. It gets really dry and disgusting, and then you just end up throwing it away anyway. So you need a good chunky sauce and a lot of good Italian seasonings, mostly like basil, oregano. And what the basil does is it adds a good sweetness and a texture to the sauce that, I don't know, I found a lot of people like that, so I know I like that. The cheese. Cheese is more important than a lot of people think. I know this doesn't look like different kinds of cheese, but that's actually two different kinds of cheese in there. You can kind of see one's a little more clear, one's a little less, but anyway. You want to use both a low-fat and a whole cheese made from low-fat milk and whole milk. What that does is the low-fat or the whole milk cheese crisps better in the oven, and the low-fat milk cheese doesn't crisp quite as well. So when you get that good mixture in there, it makes a nice even coating throughout the entire pizza, and it ends up close to perfect, I think. Alright, step 2 is assembly. And a lot of people think, you just throw it on the dough, doesn't matter, whatever, it looks like what it looks like. But perfection is the way it looks as well as the way it tastes. So you have to be mindful of where you place the toppings when you actually assemble the pizza. Like, you want to put pepperonis in a certain way to where when you're cutting it, you don't cut into the pepperoni, because then when you do it looks like you don't have any pepperonis and it doesn't look good. You want even sauce distribution, because that's when people get, oh man, my pizza was too saucy, my pizza wasn't saucy enough. It's like, well, every pizza has just about the same amount of sauce. It just depends on how you put it on there. So you got to put it on the right way, otherwise it's not going to turn out well. And I found the best way to do it is to have the toppings underneath the cheese. That way the cheese acts kind of as a flavor lock, and it locks in all the good greases and the good liquids from all the different toppings and stuff like that. And that ends up tasting a lot better, in my opinion. Alright, the third element would be baking. And I found the best heating element to have is is like a good stone oven, and if you don't have a stone oven, because I mean, I don't think anybody really has a brick oven at their discretion, a pizza stone works a lot better than just putting it on like, you know, the grate of your oven or whatever. So you can find those at baking stores and whatnot. But what that does is, if you leave the pizza stone in the oven while you're preheating it, that'll warm up the pizza stone, and then you put the pizza right on the stone. It's a nice, good heating element right underneath the pizza, and that gets it cooking right away. So, and that ties into the next point with equal heat distribution, and you want that for the entire pizza, because if you have it underneath the pizza, rather than just putting it on the grate, then you won't get quite as much heat, because it's just, you know, resonant heat from the rest of the oven. What I found works the best, I know none of you are probably, you know, rich people with tons of pizza things at home, but I found that cooking on a screen, like just a regular pizza screen, works the best. Cooking on the screen for the first half of the baking, and then once it looks like the crust is starting to crisp a little bit, then you take it off the screen and you put it right on the stone, and then it cooks the rest of the way there, and that usually ends up making it just perfect. And this is just my interpretation of a perfect pizza. I know everybody else is open, but this is how I think the perfect pizza is truly made, and it's better than frozen.